Neelu, political parties are made up by the talent that they have. And anyone who watches your show will agree that Shashi is one of the best, I would say, politicians in parliament. How many people are as gifted in terms of articulation as Shashi is, or who has an understanding of diplomacy, politics, foreign policy, India's history? I think that is the tragedy that needs to be averted right away by the Congress party. I wrote this open letter or a post to Rahul simply because I know that end of day he is the de facto president of the Congress party. I know that's not the politically correct thing to say, but he will take the big calls. And today it is absolutely critical that at a time when you are being cornered and all the advantages of the Bharat Jodo Yatra and the good performance of 2024 Lok Sabha elections are beginning to wither away in terms of public perception. What happens is when you have been an international diplomat, when you are a learned individual, a regular politician won't understand this, but very often you rise above the petty, the very pedestrian slugfest that happens between spokespersons from, different political parties. Now, I know that ever since Mr. Modi has come in government, it's a very polarized environment. So the BJP will never acknowledge anything good the Congress does, and the Congress wants to reciprocate that kind of compliment. Therefore, Shashi stands out like an oddball. But the truth is that he is being more bipartisan. I can tell you that it's in fact, I think the Congress looks good if there are some people who are above the typical parochial politics or provincial approach to politics. And the Congress can always claim that, listen, this is the viewpoint of the party. We respect what Shashi says, and you can't denigrate what Shashi says. It's an interplay. There are people within the Kerala Congress who probably see that if Shashi throws his hat in the ring in the coming assembly election for the post of the chief minister. By the way, he's a terrific campaigner. Anyone who thinks that Shashi Tharoor is just an urban elite, highly intellectual persona who cannot, kind of hang out with the common man, they need to get their heads examined. Shashi is Shashi, right? He's brilliant. I would make sure that whether it's Shashi, Dipender Hooda, or I would never let a Milind Devra go, for example. I would never let a Jyoti go. And they're all brilliant people. I would actually empower them to go hammer and tongs and get the Congress back in government at the center. And something, the joy of a leader is in creating leaders. And the beauty of leadership is to know when to step back. A leader chooses the people around him. Blaming the coterie is actually unfair on the coterie because the coterie are going to play their own stakes game. Now, if somebody is close to Rahul, they are more interested in protecting their own fiefdom. The power game, right, is not just ending with Rahul, it will also be with the people around him. There are many political entrepreneurs and people who rub shoulders with Rahul and throw their weight around at the others. It's a normal human instinct. But I believe the buck stops with the leader.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Former Congress spokesperson Sanjay Jha, who's also the author and the political commentator, on this Monday, wrote an open post for Rahul Gandhi on X, asking him to get the house in order. And this was coming amidst reports of Shashi Tharoor having a rift with the Congress party. And what he has written is very, very interesting. And I'm going to put out that tweet on the screen for you. And he writes that, "Dear Rahul Gandhi, I'm writing to you publicly here because no one within the Congress is probably going to tell you this. So as usual, let me bell the cat." And then he goes on to write that leadership, which is corporate or political or any other, is about having difficult conversations. It is about troubleshooting. It is not about living in denial. Problems have to be addressed. They cannot be wished away. And then he writes, you and I both know that Shashi Tharoor is an outstanding parliamentarian. He's probably among the only few in the country to whom the cliche, he needs no introduction, truly applies. It is therefore disappointing that once again, a great asset of the party is being forced to talk to the media to get his message through to you or the Congress leadership. Almost 5 years to the date, I was compelled to write an article in a national newspaper when facing a similar predicament. No problem is intractable. The key question is, do we have the will to solve them in everyone's interest? And that too quickly. Then he writes, Congress must be focused on taking on the BJP, but a prerequisite for that is to first get the house in order. This cannot become an ongoing, unresolved challenge for years as it paralyzes the energy and drive of the Congress workers and supporters. A challenger party has to be swift, desperate, risk-taking, hungry, and on a constant prowl. It cannot be business as usual for sure. We need to hit the nail on the head going forward, but right now, we seem to be hitting our head on the nail. So this is what Sanjay Jha wrote. I even tried an interview with Dr. Tharoor, and currently I maybe he's taken a call, a conscious call not to speak, but that interview couldn't happen. But Sanjay Jha, who wrote this open letter to Rahul Gandhi, and he also is a very good friend to Dr. Tharoor, so I thought of interviewing him this evening. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for joining on HW News on this program called Truth Be Told. And I'm hoping we're going to have some gripping conversation this evening. And to begin with your open letter, lots of probing questions there, which obviously Congress is very uncomfortable with, even though the people may like to talk about it, but for some reason they will stay silent. But what would you really say to the treatment meted out to Dr. Tharoor?
Neelu, my simple answer to everyone who's watching the program and who cares for the idea of India, for the future of this country, they all know that the Congress party has to play a very critical role in the India alliance and build, I would say, a solid foundation for a comeback. Now, how are you going to do that if you're not going to win elections? And how are you going to win elections if you don't have good people? Neelu, political parties are made up by the talent that they have. And anyone who watches your show will agree that Shashi is one of the best, I would say, politicians in parliament. How many people are as gifted in terms of articulation as Shashi is, or who has an understanding of diplomacy, politics, foreign policy, India's history? I think that is the tragedy that needs to be averted right away by the Congress party. I wrote this open letter or a post to Rahul simply because I know that end of day he is the de facto president of the Congress party. I know that's not the politically correct thing to say, but he will take the big calls. And today it is absolutely critical that at a time when you are being cornered and all the advantages of the Bharat Jodo Yatra and the good performance of 2024 Lok Sabha elections are beginning to wither away in terms of public perception. At that point, if somebody like Shashi, now Shashi is not just an ordinary MP, he is known the world over. I can tell you that the Congress today is struggling with the urban middle class. And Shashi can be the best vote catcher there. I mean, there are issues. Yes, Shashi must be feeling a little marginalized. I mean, the Congress has been out of power, right? So Shashi has not been able to work in the External Affairs Ministry. He's not been able to perform anywhere in government. And I know the skills and the talent he brings to the table. Now, how do you channelize this energy positively? That's the job of a leadership in any political party. The reason why I wrote this is because I don't want the Congress to lose or have a disillusioned Shashi in the ranks. Already, you've seen the example of Punjab. The Congress party could not handle a conflict between Navjot Sidhu and Captain, and you know what happened? You gave away Punjab on a golden diamond plaque to the Aam Aadmi party. Same happened to you in Chhattisgarh. Again, not been able to resolve conflicts. Rajasthan, another classic example, not being able to resolve the differences between Sachin and Mr. Gehlot, which may have Congress, the Rajasthan Assembly actually. The same, there are problems brewing even in Karnataka. So at some point, the Congress has to wake up, and Rahul Gandhi or Mr. Kharge have to wake up to the reality. If you have somebody who's discontented for any reason, learn to fix it. And remember, this is Shashi Tharoor. I have known him personally, a wonderful human being, accessible to all. I think he never says no to people. He is, in fact, in my opinion, the most high profile politician and easily the most accessible person I have known in politics. I needed help for, my daughter, some kind of a visa problem. And I know he was busy, but he found time to, kind of troubleshoot. I mean, that's the kind of a person he is. If he has a problem with the Congress, then I think the Congress really has a serious problem of its own.
Right. But now let's come on to the question of why Shashi earned the wrath of the central leadership. Now, what he has done is he's praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his America trip. Then he started talking about the successful startups in Kerala. And that apparently was not liked by the Kerala Congress. Now, is that a reason enough to sideline a leader like Shashi Tharoor? Because he's known as someone who rises above these petty politics, whether you should like or you should not, not dislike. But has Congress somewhere down the line been unfair, whether it is Kerala Congress or the central leadership, when you start sniding at Dr. Tharoor for making statements like these?
Neelu, that's a very pertinent question. Listen, we are talking about a man who could have been a UN Secretary General, who probably is, even today, in my opinion, if he were in government, he would have probably been India's External Affairs Minister. And I don't think he would have ever said, Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar, etc. So I have firm conviction that Shashi would have made and can still make probably a terrific foreign relations person. Now, what happens is when you have been an international diplomat, when you are a learned individual, a regular politician won't understand this, but very often you rise above the petty, the very pedestrian slugfest that happens between spokespersons from, different political parties. Now, I know that ever since Mr. Modi has come in government, it's a very polarized environment. So the BJP will never acknowledge anything good the Congress does, and the Congress wants to reciprocate that kind of compliment. Therefore, Shashi stands out like an oddball. But the truth is that he is being more bipartisan. Now, as far as the US is concerned, let me be very blunt and honest. And I actually personally did not agree with Shashi at all, because I thought on the tariff, Mr. Modi came a cropper. India is buying defense and oil that it need not have bought, frankly, unless it was under huge pressure. Number three, I think if you look at the reality that Mr. Modi was extremely awkward in the way he handled the Adani issue. Look at the US aid drama that is happening at the moment. America is literally making our political parties fight. And you have our government, which is actually siding with America, literally. I mean, it's preposterous. So I feel that maybe Shashi took a view, whether he had all the information, I don't know. But the truth is, I think Mr. Modi scores a big F on his America trip. Of that, I'm personally convinced. Now, but that is Sashi's opinion. What happened probably is that the BJP leveraged that to tell a lot of Congress people, listen, you guys can say what you want, but the best person in foreign policy is saying to the contrary. So maybe that caused a little bit of.
I think it also is a commentary on Congress, and does it not look incongruous when Congress party espouses for the freedom of expression? Now, whether Modi's trip was good or bad, that was Shashi's comment which he made in the capacity of being a former diplomat and as someone who understands international relations very well. But then to say that he shouldn't have made a remark, and especially when it comes from people within the Congress, does it bring out that incongruity? Because you stand up for the freedom of expression, and then here you are trying to repress somebody's voice.
That's exactly the point I was going to make. I said, I personally myself did not agree with Sashi's views on Mr. Modi having a good trip in the States at all. I think the larger, probably most of the political analysts agreed with the opposition viewpoint. But here is the fundamental challenge. The Congress has to be different from the BJP. I can tell you that it's in fact, I think the Congress looks good if there are some people who are above the typical parochial politics or provincial approach to politics. And the Congress can always claim that, listen, this is the viewpoint of the party. We respect what Sashi says, and you can't denigrate what Sashi says, because I'm sure he has merit in his own arguments. If you have a detailed conversation with Shashi, he can convince you why he said what he said. So I think the principal point of conversation has to be that the Congress doesn't have to be thin-skinned about all these issues. Like, for example, Shashi praised, say, the startups in Kerala. Now, what is wrong with that? I'm saying that the left government has been an overall failure. Probably the Congress will do well unless it gets too much of political hubris. It was supposed to be a swing state, although it defied those predictions in the last election. I'm sure there are leaders within the Congress who are so challenged or insecure that they find it easy to bring a good man down. Now, I feel you can agree or disagree with Sashi on multiple points, but can you deny that there is not a single individual I know who, in public platforms, in his writings, in his speeches, in interactions with people, who's spoken with passion about India's plurality, its syncretic culture, its democratic framework, and why you should respect India's constitution? I mean, he is a brilliant man. Let's not even debate that. I'll tell you where all this comes to. I believe these are the triggers, but there has been an underlying issue that I'm sure somebody like Sashi has been feeling a little, kind of low about. And I'll give you two examples. I mean, these are the two that come to me. And in fact, I remember telling him that as well in the last time I met him. Shouldn't Shashi Tharoor Neelu have been the leader of the Congress in the Lok Sabha instead of Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary? I have a lot of respect for Adhir Ji. I mean, he's fought many elections. He is, in a hard state like West Bengal, not easy, but he held on to his stuff. And he's a street fighter, full marks to him, 10 on 10. But Adhir was not the right choice to be your principal speaker in the Lok Sabha. That ideally should have gone, I always felt, first choice Sashi, second choice Manish Tiwari. Why does the Congress take these decisions are beyond me? Second point. Do you think the Congress is really...
Stop you for 2 minutes and we'll go one by one. You said that this is what you felt about Dr. Tharoor, that he should have been made the leader of the opposition in Lok Sabha. Now, the problem is, and also you spoke about Manish Tiwari, and these two are the leaders who belong to the erstwhile, if I may say, G23 or G20, whatever you call. Now, the problem you see with the central leadership and not so much with the Kerala Congress?
I can tell you one thing, it's a combination. It's an interplay. There are people within the Kerala Congress who probably see that if Sashi throws his hat in the ring in the coming assembly election for the post of the chief minister, by the way, he's a terrific campaigner. Anyone who thinks that Shashi Tharoor is just an urban elite, highly intellectual persona who cannot, kind of hang out with the common man, they need to get their heads examined. He's a man he's won one of the most difficult seats in Kerala for the Congress party. In the last election, he had a tough rival in Rajiv Chandrasekhar, who was putting all his muscle and all the might behind it. Yet Sashi won. Now, you got to recognize that today, if you were to do a dipstick survey or a proper, kind of an opinion poll or whatever, you'll find Sashi will be amongst the most prominent faces that the people of Kerala will want as their chief minister. I mean, here is a man who literally, I think, embodies the whole idea of India, which is basically India's constitution. I mean, you can't have a better example of a man who gave up a fantastic career abroad, has roughed it out in India's pretty horrific, toxic, and at times very vulgar political space. You saw how the opposition, rather the BJP, went after him after the unfortunate death of his late wife. I mean, it's tragic, the kind of things he's been forced to go through. And he survived it. And I think, a lot of people in the local Congress, and I'm not going to take the names, you know who the names are, would be aspiring for that job, right? For the chief minister's job, because they feel that the left has not done well and probably the Congress has a good chance. I do believe the Congress has a good chance. So I think there will be people in Kerala who will be anxious. As far as the center is concerned, my second point was, why wasn't Shashi Tharoor, besides not being the leader in the Lok Sabha, frankly, he could have even been the leader of the opposition. And Rahul could have focused more on the organization and the outreach to the people and building the India Alliance. But anyway, Rahul is now the leader of the opposition, so be it. But I'm saying, why didn't Shashi, for example, speak on the constitutional debate? Why isn't Shashi in the forefront of the Congress's campaign for its resurrection? I mean,
This
if
was
I
a
was the
point.
Congress president, I
The
would be
point.
having conversation with Shashi to say, let's target the youth. Let's go and target the young women voters. Let's go and talk to film industry. Let's go and talk to the intellectuals. Let's go and talk to Indian CII and the FICCI and the ASSOCHAMs and the IMCs of the world. You got to engage with industry, with business, with venture capital, with startups. Talk to the foreign institutional investors. I would there let Shashi go to Oxford and the Harvards and the universities of the world to talk about India. Why has it got to be only Rahul Gandhi? You see, this is my message to Rahul through your program, Neelu. A good leader leverages their resources. I have only so much of time, right? If I was a Congress president, the busiest person in the party would be Shashi. The busiest person in the party would be all the best. I can't be sitting there feeling insecure that Shashi will get great media, Shashi will be loved. Then somebody will say, you know what, but Shashi is better than him. Well, if Shashi is better than him, then let Shashi get the job. I want the party to win. I want the country to be running well. It's not about you. This is the missing link that the Congress has to fix.
Sanjay, you made an important point, and let me ask you a very heart-to-heart question on this.
Sure.
When you say that why should Rahul Gandhi be projected for everything? Why not Shashi Tharoor? And also this point which you raised, that why was he not projected for the debate on the Constitution? That was something which we had discussed on various platforms that day, that Congress did not put out good speakers like Manish Tiwari, like Dr. Tharoor, and we did mention about this point. But the thing is that given the charisma, given the eloquence with which Dr. Tharoor speaks, the charm he has of swaying the people, are those qualities which make everyone else, and I'm not just naming Rahul Gandhi, but everyone else in Congress, a little wary, or if I may use the word insecure, because of this trait?
Well, this is exactly what I said. The insecurity leads to myopia, and myopia leads to self-destructiveness. Here is an asset who can beat anybody in the BJP hands down. Your job as a political party is to win elections against the BJP. Now, I can give you an example. I read a message somewhere. How many people, the Congress party should make him the star of star campaigners. And not just for urban, give him an opportunity to go to different
No, but
places.
then the feeling would be, I'm just being a Rahul Gandhi for a little while you speak. So I'm just imagining what probably he would think. Now, if you make him the star of the star campaigners, then what happens to Rahul Gandhi? Does he look stymied? Does he look dwarfed when you compare him with Dr. Tharoor? I'm sure these ideas would be in the back of the mind of Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, of Rahul, of Priyanka. I'm sure the party would be mulling over these factors.
Okay, I'm not Rahul Gandhi, so I can't speak for what Rahul is thinking. But I'll tell you, if I was in Rahul Gandhi's boots, you know what I would do, Neelu? And I'm being very forthright here with you. Shashi, right, is brilliant. I would make sure that whether it's Shashi, Dipender Huda, or I would never let a Milind Devra go, for example. I would never let a Jyoti go. And they're all brilliant people. I would actually empower them to go hammer and tongs and get the Congress back in government at the center. And something, the joy of a leader is in creating leaders. And the beauty of leadership is to know when to step back, because imagine today, if the Congress was in government, would Rahul prefer right now to be head of the Congress party with 99 or 100 seats in Lok Sabha, with him being, let's say, the most powerful commanding force in the Congress? Or would it be better if the Congress was in government with 250 seats and you had everyone running a good ministry, and the BJP was in opposition, We had a country that was liberal, secular, tolerant, the media was free, nobody was scared, the stand ups were brilliant. And Rahul Gandhi was still a critical player, need not be the prime minister, need not even be the Congress president. But your party is at the helm of affairs. Now, you will tell me, Sanjay, aren't you being utopian or aren't you being Gandhian because people have ambitions? But I can tell you something, if you're ambitious, you have to have metal and merit behind you. And if you have that with you, the people will recognize it. Like there are certain strengths of Rahul that others don't have. I'll give you an example. Now, how many leaders, forget in Congress, I would say in BJP or anywhere in the world, have Rahul Gandhi's stamina and resilience, who's done a Bharat Joro Yatra twice? I mean, that man is extraordinary. You know, Rahul has been a friend of mine. I joined the Congress because of him, to be very honest with you. I have
Absolutely.
the best. I have my best for him in my heart. I'm feeling bad about one thing, Neelu. You know, the entire political brand of Rahul saw a real resurrection after Bharat Jodo Yatra. One of the reasons why the India Alliance did well, and the Congress in particular did well. I'm suddenly finding that after a few state reverses, the Congress is going back into its shell. It seems to be withdrawing again. You know, it worries me. You remember when Congress did not do well in the 2019 elections? Rahul resigned, and the party paralyzed itself over who's going to be the next Congress president. And you paid a price for it.
You were
You
saying that the party is again descending into a similar kind of an inertia which was seen in the earlier days.
I'm worried. To be very frank, I'm worried because you saw a bump in June 2024. Now, for
Right.
God's sake, learn to consolidate that gain. You can't afford to say that now, yes, in Delhi, you were terrible to get zero. You should have won Haryana. You should have won Maharashtra. Anyway, that's history. Now, forget it. Politics is about living in the moment. You have a government in Jharkhand. Uh, should have done better in JNK, but at least as an India Alliance partner in JNK. If you look at it logically, since June 2024, Neelu, the NDA has won three and the India Alliance has won two. But when you look at the perception, it appears as if it's 5-0. And the reason behind the perception is the Congress not looking aggressive enough.
Right.
I'll give you an example, and I'm talking to you because I believe in it. I'm not just trying to give you a spin. Narendra Modi is a prime minister. Every time the BJP wins, he goes and gives a speech that very night to his karyakartas, and he says, "We are the greatest, and the Congress is responsible for everything." A standard, boring template, but his followers love him, and everybody's euphoric. And naturally, the big media carries it, and it becomes a headline. Ideally, I would like a Rahul Gandhi to speak on that very day, not just because you won, even if you lost. Address your karyakartas and do it at the same time. If you have to, do it earlier, later. I'm saying address your karyakartas and tell them, man, we fought.
No,
We
Sanjay,
can do better. Let's do
no,
it. You see,
that's a
you
good
got to
advice.
connect with people.
No, Sanjay, this advice which is given by you that he should speak on the same day, whether it's a victory or a loss. Now, is the problem with the advisors of the Rahul Gandhi, or is it many people say that when it comes to Dr. Tharoor, and since we are talking about him, the problem is not so much of Rahul Gandhi, but the problem is that of the General Secretary organization, that is KC Venugopal. And since he also comes from Kerala, so his hesitation or his reticence, is understandable and for reasons X, Y, or Z.
I'll be very honest. I don't know Casey very well at all. Okay, so I'm not going to comment on him. I haven't worked with him. I've heard of him, but I have no personal engagement with him even after my problems with the Congress. So I will hesitate from making a statement on Casey. But here is the point where I don't agree with you, Neelu. You see, a lot of people are blaming the coterie or the cabal around Rahul Gandhi or any other leader within the Congress.
No, I'm
Now,
not blaming. I'm just raising a question because this is being discussed in the political
I agree.
corridor of power. Yeah.
I agree. And it's a very valid question, by the way. I'm not denying that. My issue is, Neelu, that a leader chooses the people around them. Blaming the coterie is actually unfair on the coterie because the coterie are going to play their own stakes game. Now, if somebody is close to Rahul, they are more interested in protecting their own fiefdom. The power game, right, is not just ending with Rahul. It will also be with the people around him. There are many political entrepreneurs and people who like, rub shoulders with Rahul and throw their weight around at the others. It's a normal human instinct. But I believe the buck stops with the leader. Now tell me, shouldn't Rahul, or I'm sure Priyanka and Mrs. Gandhi, they're aware of this, right? They're aware that a lot of people are talking, not just on your show, but on TV shows. Many leaders of the Congress have left saying that we could not access Rahul Gandhi. So they are aware that maybe your so-called gatekeepers are your problem. They may not be, but I blame the leader more than the gatekeeper. Now, personally, I would say, Rahul, what are you doing? If the impression is around that your gatekeepers are filtering people and not letting some voices reach to you, you should question your gatekeepers more often, or maybe change them from time to time, or listen to your gatekeepers, because I'm sure all leaders have some people they trust more, or they're more comfortable with, or they have some confidence. That is all right, as long as they're not chamchas, as long as they're not people who are so empowered that the others are disempowered. That is the problem. I think the problem in the Congress is that some people have so much of proximity and access that they don't care for the party enough. They're cutting the leader out from the mainstream. And the leader, probably out of sheer faith, or in my opinion, well, bad judgment.
I'm just wondering that why is this shake-up so difficult in Congress when the central leadership or the top leadership knows that there are certain people in their coterie teams who are restricting the access of the others, and people do complain that you cannot meet Rahul Gandhi, you cannot meet Priyanka, or it's very difficult to meet Sonia Gandhi. There are several of them whom we know, and they say that it's very difficult to meet them. And if the party's central leadership is aware of these problems, then why is this shake-up so difficult? Why cannot Rahul Gandhi simply tell the people that, look, boss, I don't need you, my party is suffering, and I need to do a major overhaul?
Yeah. That's exactly what I wrote. Leadership is about having difficult conversations. I'm a big believer, Neelu, that if you lose elections back to back, you got to make way for fresh blood. Simple. Politics, you are not going to get a runner-up trophy, right? There is no Congress is runner-up and, let's give the Congress a silver trophy. You're out. So I think the Congress needs to be a lot more disciplined when it comes to performance.
No, but
if you don't have the hunger to win.
No, Sanjay, the long and short of this is that Congress very well knows who are the competent people, who are efficient, who are skillful in what they have to. But despite knowing, and Shashi's case is a textbook example of that. Everybody knows his caliber. You don't have to go through Wikipedia or Google to understand what Tharoor is capable of. But even then, if the party is so hesitant, then which means that there are certain things which are done deliberately within the Congress. Is that not the moot point?
I don't think it's deliberate. I think it's just a little laid back approach. I'll give you one example. The part where I was
the next question is why that laid back attitude? Why? Because of whom? As far as I know, As far as I know, Mr. Kharge, he's very agile and he's open to the idea of working till 2 or 3 in the night. Even Rahul is very, very laborious. Priyanka is equally laborious. Then the problem is where?
I think the clear absence of priorities, right? You need to be very clear. There is no sense in lecturing people on empowering India, caste reservation, helping the Dalits, protecting the minorities, fighting for India's constitution if you're not going to win elections. I'm telling you, the bottom line is the Congress is to realize that life is about winning in a hard democratic contest. It is not a level playing field with Mr. Modi in power. We all know that. The BJP has the resources. The BJP has the big media. The BJP has the institutions. The BJP influences the election commission. We all know that. But if you are not going to be ruthless and disciplined in terms of getting your act together, you're never going to win. In which case, you're going to wither away. I'm telling you, Neelu, the reason why I am concerned is that the leadership has to inspire. One of the biggest roles of a leader is inspire your people for change. How do you inspire? You need to talk to them. You can't say that I'm only going to, address a few people in select gatherings. You need to go to universities. If I had to write the job description of the Congress president, I would say go and address university, at least two universities a month. Do two press conferences from the AICC office. Travel to the states where there are no elections. Create a new organization by empowering people. Tell me, why hasn't the Congress party announced a shadow cabinet? Look, if the leader of the opposition is considered to be a shadow prime minister, shouldn't you have a shadow cabinet? There are
Absolutely.
basic things. You see, the
Right.
Congress's biggest problem, writing an article on it for a paper, so let me share it with you before that. Congress needs to be the big idea party. What is the Congress party doing? I think I'm getting a call from a channel I'll need to go to, so I'll wrap up.
Yeah. No, I just ask you two more questions, Sanjay. One is that Shashi did stir a hornet's nest when he said that, if the party is ready to give me a role, it's fine. Otherwise, I have more options. Now, options of writing books, attending events, or giving speeches. But that also led to the speculation that he might quit Congress and join BJP. Now, could that be a possibility? And I'm told that this Friday, that is day after tomorrow, Kerala Congress is holding a meeting, especially in the wake of what Shashi Tharoor has said. So what could be the possibility? Do you think that there is any possibility of Dr. Tharoor joining BJP?
No way. I'm very confident that Sashi is not going anywhere. The Congress will troubleshoot and figure out a way to ensure that Sashi is not feeling miffed with anybody talking to him in a manner that probably got him upset. And the Congress needs Sashi. Sashi obviously can spend his whole life traveling the world and giving his fantastic talks and writing the most incredible books. And honestly, I don't know whether I told him yet, but I feel had he remained a UK citizen, he would have been probably a British prime minister. If Rishi Sunak could do it, Sashi could have done that. I don't think we clearly value this man enough. And I think the Congress should get back to the basics, keep your people together, and fight hard. You can defeat the BJP, it's no big deal. But for
Right.
God's sake, stop squabbling within. That's it.
My last question, and I'll let you go. I know you're in a hurry. That let me play the devil's advocate. What if no call is taken on Dr. Shashi Tharoor? I mean, that would be the most unfortunate thing. But then what next?
Well, I think the worst case scenario is that you ignore him and you're basically then giving him a message that we can do without you, Sashi. And the Congress will then be basically saying, listen, you've got 4 years as a member of parliament. Somebody in the party must be saying he won't waste it. He will still hang around. Sashi is not like that. He's a very self-respecting guy, extremely modest and down to earth given the credentials he has. And I just feel that will be a tragedy. You should never humiliate a man who probably has been very down to earth and simple. And I always believe that simple people are the people that you need to respect, that they don't shout from the rooftops. Their work speaks for themselves.
True. Wonderful interview, Sanjay, and always a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.